Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 of Jorge's Isolation podcast. Before I go any further and into this amazing conversation I'm going to have, I have been humbled in the last 24 hours, and I have been corrected, and I owe someone a huge apology. So, Matt LeBlanc from Friends, if you are watching and listening, I apologize. You are actually the one I think is funny from Friends. Matthew Perry, you're not funny, not at all. So there, that is, I feel really bad for Matt LeBlanc, not Matt Perry. Perry tries too hard. LeBlanc, you nail it every time, buddy. So with that being said, I have an awesome guest today. This is a very good friend of mine, an amazing actress, off-Broadway actress, TV star, Jacquie Guillen. How are you, Jacquie?
I'm doing A-okay.
You want to go by Jacquie or Jacqueline?
No, Jacquie.
Or Big
Jackie's
J?
fine. You can call me JG.
JG in the easy. How's it going? I heard you just moved.
It's going. We just moved. We just changed apartments. It's only 3 blocks away from our old apartment. So
that's not bad.
We are within the same area here in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
We like it. We love it. We're no longer in a super busy avenue. So it's like very quiet and
yeah, no, I've always wondered that about where you lived the last time, because I remember I went there a couple of times and I had lived on a very busy avenue. I lived on Manhattan and Grand when I first moved up.
So we were in Manhattan and Nassau.
It sucks.
Just in their last apartment.
So loud.
We're right in front of a fucking
yes.
I can curse, right? In front of a bus stop.
There's only like 5 people listening to this anyway. So you don't have to worry about anything. Your career's safe for a while.
One of them is Matt LeBlanc.
It is. It is him, because he's hurt that I was saying he wasn't funny. But, it's Matt, you're funny. LeBlanc, not Perry. So,
I love them all. And I think I'm going to say a very unpopular opinion. I actually think David Schwimmer is one of the better actors in that series, because I think his timing, I mean, everybody hates Ross, but his timing is like on point. I think his clowning work is.
I would have to agree with you on that. I feel that LeBlanc was very natural funny, but when you say actors, I think Lisa Kudrow and Schwimmer were the best actors on that show. I felt that Courtney Cox had to keep up with everyone else. Jennifer Aniston was just, I don't know. She was there. She was popular. And Matthew Perry just always felt like he was grasping at straws, trying to keep up with the other people that were superiorly talented than him, So I don't know. I couldn't even say superiorly. Whatever. He's probably going to get me back on that. And I'm never going to get work in this town again. Anyway, I'm not working in any town right now. I'm in South Texas. So anyway, back to your busy street. Manhattan is a crazy busy street, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, it was awful. We were right by the train, which was great because it's the G train, and the G was like, it's not as good as everything else. It's gotten better.
Yeah.
But what made it worth it was that we were literally a minute away from the train. So even if we missed one, we had another one right around the corner. So the commute wasn't terrible. Now we're a little bit further, but it's quieter. It's a bigger apartment. There's even like an office room and a walk-in closet, which is very unheard of.
So you can write amazing scripts and do self-tapes.
Yes.
And Ben can edit and do his self-tapes.
And we can put all of his gear away because he's
been accumulating a lot of gear, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
He's ready to have his own little production company.
So you guys have no excuse to not shoot anything.
Oh, I know. We have quite a few sketches. The thing about him and I is that our scripts are generally like 3 pages long, and
fine.
Just as soon as they start, they end, kind of thing. So
that's fine.
We had one that we really want to shoot for. It's a Halloween sketch idea, but we need to get costumes. It's very specific. So now we're kind of in the hunt for affordable renting / purchasing. We thought about buying, but
what kind of costumes?
I don't want to give it away.
Okay, well, you could just text me. I won't tell anybody.
Yeah. But they're available. Like
I won't steal your ideas.
I mean, I hope not.
No, I'd never do that.
No, never. Yeah, I'll text you.
Yeah,
I don't want to give it away.
No, I'm curious because I mean, like, I see every time I see y'all, like, there's new gear. He has more sound equipment. He has new cameras, and like, you guys, you have everything you need to shoot in your apartment.
Yeah.
And then you have a studio too. You have access to the studio and Chewy, so you have a third hand.
We really do have a mini production company, and now it's just a matter of exercising it.
You know, I think it's just, if anything, for me, it's a little bit of fear. And it's also like fear, not just because I'm scared to shoot something. I mean, I've shot a bunch of things, but it's just I don't want it to suck, you know? But I think once you get like past the fact that like a lot of the first things you're going to shoot will suck, because it's just like a muscle. Like if the first days you work out, you're going to be sore. So, you know, I don't think your stuff will suck. You made that really good one, the chingona with the contact.
Yeah. My one idea. It's like 3 years old.
And it's got relevant. 70 million views.
Oh, yeah. That's actually how I broke into the business.
Exactly. Put it on contact. I'm surprised you didn't get a contact like sponsorship. You're like one of those new spokespersons for Clearview or Activision.
I'm probably everything that they don't want.
Because you can't put on contact.
Brand to be representing.
You're like lens crafters. No. You can get a deal with lens crafters. Oh, glasses are for me. You got fancy glasses.
They really are.
Yeah. No, I can't wear contacts anymore. I literally cannot wear contacts. My eyes developed an allergy to the contact lenses. So if I wear contacts, they start drying out really bad. And I started noticing this, you know, when I was working on a show, and this was a really important show for me. It wasn't a big part or anything, but it was like when I did Kevin Can Wait, and I was sitting across the table from Kevin James and Leah Remini. And that was a huge moment in my career, because I am the biggest fan of King of Queens, and I'm the biggest fan of them and their relationship as a TV couple. And I was so hurt that like when they canceled King of Queens that I could never work with them. But when they created Kevin Can Wait, and then they brought Leah Remini they brought her into the second season.
Yeah.
My chance, you know, just it just popped up, and I got it, and I took it, and I got it. But my eyes were so freaking dried out from the contact lenses. And I'm sitting across the table, and I'm looking at Kevin James, and his eyes, like the whites of the eyes were so white, and mine are just like, I look like I had been like drinking for like 4 days, and I was stoned out of my mind. I was trying to keep them open. I was like, oh, I hope they don't fire me from this. This is like one of my my idols are right across from me. And like it felt, I was so in my head that whole day. Luckily I only had like 2 lines, so I couldn't flub those up, but like still, like I cannot wear contacts. And I went and got checked out, and the doctor said that I have an allergy in like the eyelids. So
shit. And it's any type of contact?
Yeah. And this was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. And I went to one of those guys that does the LASIK, and surprisingly, they didn't really push the LASIK, even though that's their bread and butter. That's where they make their money. He's like, you have 2 options. You can just wear your glasses, or you can get LASIK. I mean, if you want to wear your contacts, you can use some of these drops, but I can't guarantee that it'll work. And like, he's right. Like some days it's like my right eye will dry out really bad. Like the moment I put on the contact, I know which eye is going to be bothering me that day. And then some days, neither eye will bother me. So it just depends. I don't know what it is, but
fuck, man, that's so scary, because I mean, at least for me, if I can't see clear, I can't hear. Like all of my senses get fucked up. Like I'm just like,
yes.
So I can't imagine not being able. I mean, listen, a lot of the gigs that I get are, I don't know if I get them because of my glasses, but a lot of the time they're like, bring your glasses. We want that look. So I'm able to wear them.
Yeah, you have something special. You have the cool glasses. You have the good, the look going for that, you know, that role, the type. Like you've created like your own kind of character in and of itself. So it's kind of original to you. For me, I go into every audition and they're like, Jorge, can you take off your glasses? And I'm like,
Sure. And
I
they're like,
can't
and now
see.
can you read this
Oh, especially
teleprompter?
commercial auditions. It's awful. Yeah, no, I was like, I
So
just
what
want.
I started doing, I have glasses that are kind of like these,
Hmm.
or the look that I have that don't have prescription, and I wear contacts with
Yeah,
those glasses
yeah,
because sometimes they do want glasses and sometimes they don't.
yeah,
And it's I've messed up at auditions before where I'm not completely off book, and I take off my glasses and I'm just like completely in my head. I can't read.
yeah,
So ever since then, I wear my contacts with the non-prescription glasses so that I
yeah.
can have the look if they want it, and if not, take it off and I can still see.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's such a weird business that we have to like think about these things, and like
oh
it
yeah,
becomes a stressor. I mean, for me at least, when I am getting ready, I gotta know that my outfit is all right, and I'm not like very picky about what I wear. But if it's just if I don't, I feel fat that day, and I'm fat every day, but I have to feel fat. I'm very comfortable in my skin, but there's just some days where I just don't feel pretty, and like
oh
it
honey, all
throws
of
me
us
off.
feel that.
It throws me off. But then I can be fine with that. Like I can muscle through it because once I start sweating, I get into it. I kind of forget it. But if I'm not seeing who I'm looking at, especially if it's a commercial audition and the clients are in there like a callback, and you know how there's like the group of people sitting on the couches on their laptops or like just sitting there by the snacks that they don't give us.
Yep.
I I was
Yeah.
just like I kind of panic sometimes if I can't see. So it's yeah, no, vision is very important, kids. And if you can afford LASIK, do it. That's what
I
I
wouldn't do it. Love
oh man.
yourself.
I would do it in a heartbeat. Like man, like okay, so I'm very dark now. But you can see like these tan lines and these
Oh
indentions
yeah,
in the
yeah,
sides of
yeah.
my face. It looks bad when I go in for auditions and stuff like that. It's
Really? I can't
yeah.
tell from over here,
Well,
but
you're
I
too
guess it's two
kind.
cameras away.
Yeah, and it's a cheap webcam. I don't have like an Ari Alexa pointing at me with super lenses that
Yeah, sure, sure.
that they would have on TV. So
I'm sorry I'm shifting too much. I'm just like on a fucking stool, so I'm just like constantly
no,
trying
no,
to
no.
find.
You do you, boo. There's no judgment on this podcast. Like I said, there's only like 5 or 6 people probably listening, and you know they're probably just using it as white noise so they could do laundry and fold it. So they're
Sure,
probably not even
sure.
paying attention. Maybe they'll pop in, they'll hear the Matt LeBlanc thing and be like, "Oh, that's right, he did like hate on Matt LeBlanc, but it's really Matt Perry. It's not funny." But
Well, I'm really expecting, at least six visits to my website after this podcast airs.
definitely, we're gonna plug it. You're gonna
That's
you're gonna get about 6 million.
oh great.
I'm just saying people will just look at the description and the notes below the description and just click on your website because that's more important than whatever I have to say anyway. Uh,
Oh,
but you know how it goes. So what's been going on in New York? Let's go back to January. You were working on a
mm-hmm.
play
Yep.
and the world turned upside down, right? So tell us what the play
Yep.
was, what you were doing. It was your first off big off Broadway show.
Yeah.
Very proud of you, and you're very excited about it. I remember this. I had already moved, so I couldn't go see it, but I would have.
Yeah, yeah. You
So
were one of the first ones I told during that
yeah.
what was it? Sabritas audition that we did in the
Oh
city.
yeah. Yeah. I had to take my shirt off, and that poor girl Andrea, she had to like tap my back. And I'm like, man, I am so sorry. So sorry.
That was an awful audition. I mean, for me, it was an awful audition in the sense that like whoever, I don't even know who the casting director was, but he was asking if we were all fluent in Spanish, and I was like,
Mhm,
yes, yes, of course. And he's like, and you guys speak like Mexicans, and I was like, yes, yes, of course. And the
mhm.
guy's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoever I was auditioning with, and the guy was like clearly
Dominican.
not Mexican. Yeah, yeah. It was like, and he's like, oh, and I think, oh, you're right. He did have to take off his shirt, so it was
Yeah,
like,
because it's a
I'm
tattoo
supposed to be the
parlor.
yeah, yeah, I'm supposed to be the cool tattoo artist or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And I do it. I thought I did okay, but then I see that they're like 2 weeks later still looking for the same like tattoo artist, but like now
Yeah.
it was clearly like hot a hot tattoo artist. Like
Oh
clearly
God.
they were like,
Yeah.
oh, we need to be specific that this role needs to be, I guess, like
And needs to be played by a
That's my impression of
supermodel.
like
Yeah.
sexy and hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was a whack audition. I remember that. I took my kid to that audition with me.
yes, I took care of her
I
while you were in there. I had a
That's so funny.
blast.
Yeah, she's in her little Yankee outfit.
She was so cute, and I was videotaping her. This exists somewhere on Instagram. I was
Oh,
taking a video
amazing.
of her, and as soon as I started, she starts freaking out. So the camera just kind of like goes out of my hands because I don't want her to freak out. So it's like the perfect babysitting video where you think everything's okay and it's just like completely crumbles in front of everyone. And then I picked her up and she was fine.
Yeah, no, she doesn't like cameras. I mean, she doesn't like to be like videotaped, or she doesn't like pictures taken of her, but she's very fascinated by the cameras and the lights and everything else on set. Like, we recorded some stuff, we shot some shorts here a few weeks ago, and she was so fascinated by the lighting and the camera and the tripods and stuff. But once the cameras were on her, man, we had to get her to try to like play with this one little toy, and she would not touch it. She would not touch it. She would play with everything else, but she didn't want to touch this one toy that we needed her. It was like specific. And the next day, that's the only toy she wanted to play with. So it's just like, come on.
You know,
kid.
she knew.
Yeah, no, she does. She does that to me.
She's like, oh, you want me to do this? I won't.
Yeah. This isn't SAG.
Daddy.
Yeah, daddy.
I won't. I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah, this is a non-union job.
Yeah.
She already knows her rights.
I mean, there's so many new things that we should know by now, given the new contract that went on.
Yeah, woof. Yeah, that's another story.
So going back, yes, I booked 72 Miles to Go at the Roundabout for their Laura Pels theater.
Written by
Hilary Bettis.
Amazing.
Everybody,
playwright.
all you six watching, look up Hilary Bettis. She is phenomenal. She is was a writer for The Americans.
Yeah, fantastic writer.
Yeah, she is, and she was completely just such a wonderful person to be in the room with, and I love her and would love to continue working in her plays, because she really does write characters that aren't necessarily just like the stereotype Mexican characters.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So we started rehearsals in January. I stopped doing my day job that I had been doing for such a long time.
Yeah.
Because for the first time I was like making a living wage out of theater.
Yeah.
Which was like, I was like, wait, what? I wake up, I get to like have breakfast, I get to hang out with my dog, do some research and like learn lines, and then go to rehearsal at 10, and then I'm done by 6, maybe sometimes 4, depending on what type of schedule we have for the day. And it was awesome. And then we started previews in February, and we ran for 4 weeks of previews. The script literally changed up to right the week before we opened.
Yeah.
And we would have changes almost every day. And it was me and Bobby Moreno, who's an incredible actor as well.
Yeah.
Our scene, there was one scene in particular that it was just not feeling right for Hilary, and you know, we kept like changing things, and we needed a cut because there was no intermission, so we just needed to like trim the show. So every day before the show, it would be like, okay, we're cutting this, you gotta jump this. And the final scene of the brother and the sister ended up being so many different versions of what we had done in the past. So there was nights that we would just kind of like be like, okay, well, I'm gonna wait to see what you say, because I don't know whether like we're both gonna be on the same page. So it was very much like it was incredible to have to like work that muscle of your brain, because being an actor
live
is one thing. Yeah, exactly.
That's all live.
Different muscle.
Yeah.
And then I mean, if you do off-Broadway, the most shows you do is what, maybe 2 weeks, and like
2 weeks. Yeah, maybe Wednesday is a warm-up, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then a matinee. So,
and then and you do 2 weeks if you're lucky. Otherwise, it's just like 5 shows.
Yeah.
So doing a show, like every night for 2.5 months. Well, 2.5 months with rehearsals, but it was an entire like 6 weeks of just performing, or 5 weeks maybe. Maybe I'm making it up. Anyways, it was with matinees and all of that. It ended up being like, I think, I don't know, 40 shows. I'm not sure, which is way more than I've ever done. Way less than any other musical theater Broadway star is doing.
Yeah.
But it was just it was such a great learning experience for me, and
you were starting to feel your rhythm, like you were starting to get that, and like
man,
even with all the scene changes or the script changes up to the night of, were you starting to feel like a good rhythm where that you could actually play with that, or was that still kind of getting in the way?
No. I think we all had a really good understanding of who these characters were, so everybody was already kind of doing their own thing. The only thing that did get in the way, in a way, I guess it was just like all of the little notes, and like all of like the line notes and everything, so all of those things did get in the way of like fully performing what you had been working with. But the closer you get to opening, the less and less those notes become, so you do get to kind of play more and kind of follow your gut and put what you've put in paper on stage. So I mean, opening night went great. We all felt very, very good about it. And then and it was a full packed house. Whoever was there, I mean, granted, mostly opening nights is like friends and family and like industry people. But it didn't feel like, the energy in the room was just very much present. And then the next day we go and there's only 100 people in the audience, and that's because that's like the first night that Corona was starting to be like, nobody do anything.
Like before you go, like was there any kind of like awareness that the Corona was actually going to be some sort of issue, or like the weeks leading up to it, or the week or two like I know we all heard about it like in December and January. It was known that it was out there, but like how is this like I mean, I didn't really think about it until they started saying that more people were getting it. Like, and how is that happening there?
Maybe 2 weeks before, which was like getting into the last week of previews or whatnot. The Roundabout kind of stopped doing meet and greets outside, like the stage door autograph stuff.
And I heard that they banned all that altogether once they opened the industry back up. They're banning all that. What do they call it? The stage dooring it? I don't know.
I don't know what it's called. I haven't done this enough to know what it's called. They're completely getting rid of it. I mean, I don't know. They might bring it back in the future. Who knows? Sure, but I know that they stopped for about like a week and a half before opening. Everybody was. We had somebody come and clean our dressing rooms, just because they were like, oh, we need to be, uber careful, and everybody was just constantly washing their hands. That's when I guess the cases started to go up. And then I think the week of opening, I think that's when a report was said that, or an article said that an usher tested positive for one of the Broadway shows. And that's when I think it to me, it kind of started being like, oh, maybe this is getting out of hand.
Okay. I know us, we're actors, we're very good friends. We chat all the time about this sort of thing. In a selfish way, when you heard about that and the usher getting it and the talks about maybe closing, did you think, there goes my chance? Like, this is my, because I thought like the moment that when they started like saying like, we're going to shut down the industry, I'm like, I just started in a new region and I was hitting the good stride. Like selfishly, I started thinking that. And then
absolutely. That's all I was thinking about. That's all I was thinking about. I was like, wait, this was my shot.
Yes.
Of people knowing who I am, like I've been doing a lot of little, and little is not the right word, because a lot of the off-Broadway shows that
you did some really
are
good stuff
out there are incredible, and some of the best actors I know are a part of that community. But it felt like it was the first time that
it's like some of the best actors you'll never know.
Right. Yes. And
Yep.
it's so infuriating.
Yeah.
But it felt like for the first time, like, oh, great. Like now more people in the industry, because getting people in the industry, like casting directors and bigger
Yes.
agencies, to see Off-Broadway is kind of not a
It's
thing
harder.
unless you're very well connected.
Yes.
And for me, I'm like, oh, a lot of this is just, I don't have to personally, like, go out of my way and invite everyone. Like
Yeah.
this is just gonna happen based on, like, one, the cast is an incredible cast and they already
Yeah.
have a following,
Yeah.
like
It's
one
like
of the actors is it's in a Netflix show. I was like,
yeah.
people are
You
gonna
just
come and see
never
this.
know who's gonna be there. You never know
Right.
what casting director is gonna see it. Like, I remember, like, you hear it all the time. Like Ray Fisher, the guy who's playing Cyborg in the Justice League, like he
Uh-huh.
got seen by the what's his name that directed Brokeback Mountain, Ang Lee. I think it was like Ang Lee saw him, or was it? Yeah, I think it was Ang Lee saw him. But like a lot of
Let's
other
see.
directors had seen him. And if you look at his IMDb, people saw him in this show that he was playing Muhammad Ali. It was Ang Lee, right? That saw him.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you look at his IMDb, like his very first movie was Justice League or Batman versus Superman. Like you never know who's going to be there. It's basically like free advertising for you, the actress. You know what I mean? Oh no. Are you frozen? Hello? Well, we have a little bit of technical difficulty
Oh,
here, Jackie. Oh,
oh,
there you
there we
are.
go.
You
You
popped back in.
froze.
You froze. So we both froze. Technology,
Yeah.
everybody, and that's a thing that we tend to deal with in the isolation podcast. And this happens. Internet has become basically like a clogged
Such a
artery.
crucial. Yeah.
Yes, everybody's using it, so now everybody's internet is going slow. My internet was never very fast to begin with down here, but so we're going back to you and your show, and being at they started announcing, you hear about the usher getting sick. When did they start saying like we might be closing or like shutting down for what
No.
time period? Or
We opened on a Tuesday.
mm-hmm.
We did a show on Wednesday. That's when the audience was very, very low. And we were like, oh, either our reviews weren't very good that people automatically decided not to go. Yeah. Or this coronavirus situation is just really that serious.
Yeah.
And that Thursday, there's an article, like a Playbill article, that's like, oh, shows less than 500, like more than 500 people can no longer happen.
Oh,
and
yes,
then maybe a few hours later is like, no, Off-Broadway and Broadway is completely shut down. And I remember getting an email from Todd at the Roundabout, and it was pretty much saying like, oh, we're suspending the show.
Yeah.
So it wasn't canceled. We were suspended till April 12th.
Without any time frame? Did they give you a time frame? They're saying like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
They said from today to April 12th, we're suspended. We'll come back for like the last 2-3 weeks of what was supposed to be the show. Yeah. And automatically that was like so devastating because we're finally getting in the groove of stuff. But the suspension, just not canceled, suspended. It was such like a hope. I mean, even my Instagram posts, I was like, still hopeful.
I remember that whole, like, I was going through all that, the roller coaster of emotions with you, because it's like when, like, I always tell people that, you can either be a hater or you can just love when your friends book, you know what I mean? And it's like, we all share these victories together. Like if you book something, I feel like I booked something. And like, if someone else books something that we're really close friends with, it's like, we all won, especially since we're from the same area in South Texas. It's just another victory for the little guy that the world forgot. Like, we're not Texas, we're not Mexico. It's how I tell everybody, like, we're our own little world in South Texas. Like, I was following that with you, and I was just like, oh my God, please don't shut down forever. And
and then maybe maybe it was the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2 weeks in, maybe 3 weeks. No, it was 2 weeks in. We get an email being like, it's been canceled. And I was so devastated. Like,
Yeah.
I cried probably that entire evening.
Mm-hmm.
I did the dramatic crying in the shower. I was just
Yeah.
so heartbroken. And it wasn't
Yeah.
even about like, oh, it's my shot. It was just, for the first time, I felt like this kind of story was getting a main stage.
Yeah.
It was,
Yes.
and one girl, actually, we had one of the few student performances. There was one girl who at the end, we did a Q&A, and she expressed that, she had been crying because she was from Harlingen, and that she very much related to the story. And she's like, I know these people. And like that little interaction with somebody from
Yes.
South Texas, where I'm from the
Yeah.
border, with a story about the border and immigration and DACA.
And not about
Like, that's how
cartels and like
right.
kidnapping.
And like my character Eva is very much like, goal oriented, and then having to give up her dreams to take care of her family, and
Yeah.
the separation between her and her mother, and going through the transitional years of like teenager into womanhood without her mother. Like, that's what broke my heart, that I'm like, oh, not that many people can see this anymore.
No.
And it like, we were going to have a lot of students, and a lot of students
Yeah.
of like lower income areas come, and
Yeah.
that's what I was kind of really excited about.
Yeah.
And that's what really just affected me to my core. I was just so sad. And then obviously the layer of like, I don't get to do this anymore. I don't get to be on stage anymore. And also, I've been in New York for almost 8 years, no, 7 years, almost 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me that long to get a part, and a part that I'm like, well, this
You're
is
really
a
proud
girl
of.
from the border. Yeah. And it was just like something that it was like perfect, that I knew, like, at the moment I knew that they were casting for this, I was like, I'm going to get this part.
Yeah.
And it just seems like such a hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
And the one time that I do it, there's a pandemic, Chapa.
Yeah, I know. It's the other thing that people just need to understand too, is that our stories are never told on the big stage in New York City.
Mm-mm.
You're not going to have Mexican stories about immigration, where you're just not going to have any of those stories at all. You're going to have In the Heights, you're going to have other stuff about other people's stories, but like specifically where we are on the border that hits close to us, a lot of times New York tends to write for New York. They're not going to write for South Texas or New Mexico or Arizona or anything along the border. It's very, very rare. And that's kind of been an issue I always had with New York theater. I mean, there were plays that were done about the Valley. I know Mando wrote a bunch, and then there was some being written. I know Raul wrote a few plays, and they did some readings. But like, to get a big stage like that, like it's rare. It's very, very rare, and that is, I get it. I totally feel it, and I'm really hoping that change is coming along whenever the industry does open, that we can see more of our stories that aren't riddled with cartel violence. And like, I mean, even down here on the border, it's still like we don't even have an identity. We don't even know that we have stories to tell a lot of time. Like, the people down here have done, like, I can, in the last 10 years, they've done Zoot Suit like 6 times, 5-6 times.
Sure.
And it's by the same people too. And it's kind of like, there are other playwrights. Zoot Suit. There's other, but we don't know that because they don't get the mainstream audience. And this was a big shot for you. And and also another thing, people are hearing this devastated, like, oh, boo-hoo, poor actor didn't get it. It's like, no, it's just like, you don't understand the hard work, going to the auditions in the cold, in the rain, wondering if you're going to lose your job because you go to this audition or because you booked this one part in the play. Like, how many times, like, I know for me, I felt so many times whenever I booked something and I had to say, hey, can I call in? Like, I can't come in because I'm shooting on this day, or I have a fitting that I need to go to. Like, I thought I was going to lose my survival job so many times. Like, how many times did you feel that? And you felt guilty for pursuing your dream?
Oh, constantly.
Always.
And the thing with me is that I've been, or had been, with the same company for so long, and They were very flexible. I was able to go to auditions, and we were located in a very central point. So like getting to 60 Madison was like
Easy.
a 10-minute walk. So it was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna take my break. I'll go do the audition, come
Go to
back.
Melski's and then back. Yeah.
But actually booking, because
Yeah.
usually you book and then like you have to be on a fitting to the next day.
day.
And then yeah.
The
So
next
that
day.
like I can't even tell you how many times I called in sick, you
Yeah.
know, like being like, oh, my stomach hurts, and I'm
Yeah.
on set and I'm like, make sure like I'm taking photos, you know, of like your area, and it's like, oh, I can't put this on Instagram because my boss follows me.
You have to
so
wait
I
like
have
a week
to,
or two. Yeah. Well,
that
I mean,
one throwback to that
yeah.
one time on set
Yeah.
with whatever.
That I worked on a Saturday, you know?
Yeah.
Because
or
like
after hours.
Exactly, because like in a perfect world for a commercial, like you could go in for the commercial audition on a Tuesday. There's a callback either like Thursday, then you're getting called in for a fitting maybe Friday, and then shooting Monday or Tuesday. It's that fast. The turnaround for a commercial audition that people don't understand, it's that fast. If you're doing like a day player spot, you have maybe another extra day in between that. Maybe. But
depending,
like,
yeah,
exactly.
It's tight.
Like, it's super tight. And I remember the first commercial I did, I booked it and I had a fitting the next day. And then I had to work like that Monday, like, right. Cause it was a Friday. I had a fitting on a Saturday, and then Monday we worked. It's just so fast. And I had to call in. I worked all those days and I had to say, can I not come into work? I'm going to make more money and pursue my dream doing this. You know what I mean? It's just, it sucks.
With me, I would be like, oh, I'm throwing up. I can't possibly. I'll let you know if I feel better, and because sometimes you're like, oh, sometimes they might just need me for half a day. So if I start at 8, chances are I'll be released by noon or 1.
Yeah.
So there was that one, you know, a few times that I would be done by like 11 or 12, and I'd like come into work and be like, I feel so much better. I'm sorry. I'll just stay a little bit later. You know, but it's crazy that we felt like at least
you needed
elaborate lies.
Yeah.
To pursue my I mean, essentially what my career path is not, you know, I'm not here to be a fucking assistant.
No.
Though, you know, it's paid my stay in New York City for most of, you know, the last few years. But yeah, it's that's funny that I thought I was the only paranoid person that would always be like, oh, I booked the job.
No. Whenever I'd book it, my stress levels would go up the moment that I would book it. I should be happy. I should feel accomplished. And like, for me, I'm not one of those people. I think it's just, I guess from my upbringing in sports and playing football and being a team player, like I was on the worst teams ever. I don't think I was ever on a super winning team. And what that taught me, though, not quitting, was that you don't give up on your brothers, you know, or your teammates or anything like that. And I carry that over into my professional life and my work life. And even though I hated my job at Equinox, at the gym that I worked at, I hated it. And I hated like being yelled at by these privileged people for like petty things, like not getting a spin bike. You know, I felt guilty that I booked work and I needed to find a replacement last minute, because I knew that I was going to leave my team members, like my teammates, in a lurch. Like they're not going to have me to help them out, you know, when they need help. And you know, it's just like one of those things. And I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore, because now I'm not working at all, and it's scarier. Unemployed life.
But that stress is, it's really, and it really puts things into perspective, because you're like, why the fuck am I stressed?
Yeah.
About like sometimes, you know, sometimes you're lucky enough to have 3 auditions on the same day.
Oh yeah.
But they never line up. You're always like 1 at 10 a.m., 1 at 1, and 1 at 4. So me, with my day job, that was a very flexible job. That's why I never left it.
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, damn it, why couldn't it have been like from 1 to the end of the day? That way I just take half a day rather than like come in at 9. No, I have to like, now I have to come in super early so that I can leave like at 9:30 to make it to my 10 o'clock, be back by 10:30, and then leave at 12:30, and then come back after, you know, and hopefully they're all running in time, because sometimes you're there waiting for an entire hour.
Yes. You're waiting, or they're running behind, and it's the worst. Or have you ever had it like, because I remember one specific day, it was in the middle of summer. So it's already hot in New York. July. It was July,
Yeah.
August. So I was already hot and sweaty. And I had to go from 90 John to 60 Madison back to 90 John.
Oh, that's the worst.
Why couldn't you just get the 290 Johns like in one, like back to back? But they were just so like they were hours apart. So I had to go up and back. It was the worst. And I was sweating. And I had to wear jeans for that stuff. It sucked.
Also, 90 John and 60 Madison, for those listening, are usually the two offices that are casting the most commercial work and house casting.
Yeah,
but they're so far apart. House is also
did they?
They're no longer
on 15th
off of like 11th Avenue or whatever.
Yeah, they're across from Chelsea Market.
They might be. They're actually at 90 John now.
Good. Yes, they had already started moving before I left. I remember because they started setting up there, and I started having more auditions there at 90 John through house.
Yeah.
Imagine that though. You had to go through like 60 Madison to like house casting across from Chelsea Market to 90 John. Forget about that. That'd be a day. Yeah.
That would be a day.
Oh my.
And that's also assuming that'd be a day without a day job. Now having a day job with those 3 stops.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no. And then it's raining on this day. That's
right.
Of course.
Or super cold or really, really hot. And your characters are all different. So you're like, damn it, I have to change.
You have to change.
I have to change. I'm actually a very lazy asshole. Like I'm a lazy actor in the way that if I have more than one audition that requires a change, I will find a happy medium.
Yeah.
Rather than being like going, I just don't want to be that person with the luggage, changing complete outfits. I'm just like, these pants work for this person, and then this shirt works for that. It's just gonna have to work for those 2 auditions. I am glad
that you were bringing this particular subject up, because I remember like in grad school or whatever, they would always be on our asses about like what you wore in an audition. Like, I don't know. I never did one act or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get it. I mean, I played football during that time, so I couldn't get involved with it. There's no knock against one act, but I find that a lot of kids that do one act tend to have these habits, like just like military habits drilled into them, that they need to wear a suit to these auditions, and they need to like be like over prepped. And I feel like it takes a lot of natural reactions and not of acting. Like you get real stiff with that stuff. And like for me, when it comes to like dressing up for auditions, like I won't wear a suit unless it specifically says that the character needs to be in a suit. Otherwise,
no.
I'm gonna go in there with either a polo and something comfortable that I can kind of get away with. I've never been one of those actors. Like, I've gone in for cops several times. If I'm going to go in for a cop, I'm going to wear a dark blue polo. Because guess what? Cops are always wearing dark blue polos. And a dude at this, who was at Orange is the New Black audition, wore a full police outfit. He had the belt, he had the shirt, the pants, the boots, everything. And I'm like, bro, like, you can wear all that, but if you can't say the lines, then what are you doing, man?
Right. And I will say too, I mean, and this is TV, but I was fortunate enough to be a part of the audition process for 72 Miles for another character. So I got to see the initial auditions where you see like 50 actors in one day.
Yeah.
And it was such a great experience because I got to see people that came in with food and props with entire costume changes, and then if it was a completely different scene, I'm gonna move so you can get a little bit more light on my face.
No, you're good. I just saw your dog's butthole, like your dog was just like lifting her tail at me.
She does her thing.
Does she still not like Chewy? Is that Ben back there?
Yeah, it's another man in my house.
Oh my goodness, it's another bearded man. It's scandalous.
Yeah, I got to see all of that. And, sometimes you get in your head that you're like, maybe I should bring a cookie because it's such a funny moment.
Yeah.
But there was you better have practiced that bit at home because
exactly.
Sometimes some people I would be like, your mouth is full. I can't understand you. And right now it's funny for all the wrong reasons. It's not, and and they didn't get a callback for for the part, or the only time I did see something like work with costume changes was for this particular audition, that I was like, okay, like it seemed like he had his moment very planned out, where he has his first outfit and then it's like, okay, and if you get the opportunity to do the next scene, he like knew what to take off and like immediately what to put on, and it was very quick.
Yeah.
And it didn't take away from, like an actor, usually you get like your 5 seconds to kind of center yourself before the next scene. He was pretty much doing all of that and it was flowing and it worked.
Yeah.
But actors, young actors out there, 6 people watching, if you're going to audition, simple is better, because it's, unless it's a very specific thing that the script is asking for it. But otherwise,
seriously, know the part first and foremost, know what you're doing, and then worry about costume, because I think a lot of people get too like distracted about the costume. Like they say, well, I'm going in for a cop costume, I'm going in for a cop. Don't worry about what you're going to wear. Know the lines, and know what's happening, and then you can create the story. Like if you can muster something that looks kind of like a security guard, then do that. But just don't. It bugs me sometimes. Like when I see some people, like one of the times it's happened to me was I was at an audition there on was it 19th Street or 20th Street? The one that's like
the
floor.
The 3 something.
Yes. It's up there, and there was for a wrestler, and these dudes brought their suitcases, and they were like WWE wrestlers. They had their little chones, they had their boots, they had like face paint. It was nuts. They had oil. One dude was putting baby oil on him.
I hope they booked it, because it actually seems like a very specific thing to do.
Exactly. Commercials are a different beast, I think.
Yes, they are. I will say though, I can count the amount of times that I've booked something and they've asked me to bring back a piece and an accessory, the glasses, or the entire outfit. And sometimes I'm like, I wonder if that really got me the part. Like,
they could have.
I know for Blue Bloods, for a co-star, I got a callback, which I've never done callbacks for co-stars. Usually you just kind of like
Blue Bloods does that.
Initially book it.
Yeah.
The director loved what I was wearing. We did a fitting the day of shooting, and the costume guy was like, I think we can do better than what you brought. And the director was like, no, I want her to wear what she wore to the audition.
Really?
So like he wanted me in that outfit. He thought it fit the character perfectly.
Yeah.
I know for a McDonald's commercial I did, they were like, please bring that headband and please bring your glasses. And I did that Charmin Snapchat commercial. They wanted the exact same outfit. And for Orange is the New Black, the costume people were like, we were inspired by what you wore. Because when I went, it was for a journalist. And when I went in, there was a lot of girls like showing a lot of cleavage and like leg and heels. And I was very much just like, a cute dress with like a cute collar, long sleeves, and like a heel or whatever. And I thought, I was like, I'm not booking this. Like, there's no way I'm booking this. These girls look incredible. And I'm just like, here, this like nerdy, short girl, not showing any leg. And the costume people were like, they tailored their entire idea of what this character was based on what I brought. So that's not to say you shouldn't overthink costumes, but just still do the work that's necessary to book the part, and then focus on that. Because I do stress about costumes a lot.
I think also too, for me, a lot of times when I didn't go with what everyone else was wearing, like say it was a detective and I just wore like a dark shirt, but I went and did the part, I was doing something totally different than what everyone else was doing. It's just, I think it's just taking that risk, taking that chance, and knowing the part. If you go in there, you're prepared, that automatically elevates your game. That automatically elevates your audition. And then if you kind of wear, like, they understand you live in New York City. They see, I don't know how many people like, how many casting offices have you been in? They're casting for how many shows? A lot of these casting offices, like if you go into like Bowling Misha, that casting office, they've got like 3 or 4 shows that they're casting at a time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you sign in, there's like 2 different sign-in sheets or 3 different sign-in sheets for the different shows they're doing. There's either Gotham or Blue Bloods or was it Mr. Robot? You know, or if you go into
Right.
Telsey is just a freaking, it's a circus in there because you've got musical theater,
Right.
you got
And
play,
that's only,
you got TV,
and you
you
have
got films.
multiple offices for
There's
Telsey too.
a
So
million of them we go happening in there. So it's kind of like you look, they see a ton of people and they want to see someone that's going to really stand out from what I've experienced and what I don't know. I need to chat with the casting director to actually get some confirmation on that. But I think what it really just comes down to is preparation and what you do in that office. Because at the end of the day, if you scoot back, you see where I'm at right now. If you're watching on YouTube and if you're just listening, you can go to my YouTube channel to this moment. If you pause and like see the minute marker, where my framing is all you're gonna see in that audition tape anyway. If you're wearing a crazy pair of pants, guess what? That's a wasted effort because all you're gonna see is from like your chest up. Basically, it's what they're looking for. And a lot of times I think that's like a lot of that energy into like what you're gonna wear, like your belt and like pants. Like, okay, if you feel more comfortable, like I know a lot of method people would say like, oh, you need to get down to the shoes. The shoes is where it starts. Like if you feel good in some shoes, wear the shoes, but don't make that a priority because a lot of people focus on all the wrong things when they should be focusing on what's happening in the scene and not knowing what's happening in the lines. You know, you can memorize lines, but you need to know what's in those lines, bring those lines to life. And that always would, but especially like when you have to read with somebody else, you know what I mean? Like imagine that. Like how many times has this happened to you where you have prepared for a pretty good TV job, right? An audition, and you've been working on this, you've finally, like, it was already a hard scene to go over, but you put in the work, you memorized, you've felt like you've made some really cool choices, and you go into the room, and as you start reading, the casting associate or the reader just does not give a shit about your day or what choices you've made, and they read it in the most awful way, period. And you ask them politely, hey, can you just like slow down a little bit, or like, hey, I just, you know, whatever, or they just say, nah, that was good, and that's it. You know what I mean? You stressed out all about a costume, and then you get that. You know what I mean? You got one read. So focus on the line and see what you could do with a crappy reader. Like, what do you do with crappy readers like that? Because I've had a bunch.
What do I do? I can't say I've had for auditions a terrible reader. It's usually an assistant, and the assistants are usually really cool. Granted, though, I have not gone out nearly as many auditions as you have for like guest stars and series regulars or, you know, pilot leads or whatnot. So that might be a different experience. But for co-stars, usually the assistant has been really, really nice. The only time I've had a terrible reader was when I was doing those one-on-one classes that you go and read in front of an agent. And it's like one reader just like copying through people and you give them the scene. And I was like, oh, here, this, you know, this is a little backstory for your character. And if you can just give me a beat here, whatever. And she was like, okay. And I went in there and she did nothing. Like she took none of those notes. Which I think really affected me because that agent was like, this is for TV and film, so you would need to do it a lot softer. You were very loud, and he's like, that's very different than theater, which is what he was just fucking talking down on me. And I was like, fuck you, I know the difference. I've done both. But I think her lack of not commitment, but just lack of energy in that given moment affected what people were seeing of me, because I was trying to push. I was trying to like get this person to a different level. I mean, I think usually I'm too much in my head too.
I mean, I get that too. And I think one of the things that you just brought up a good point about was when this agent told you, like, you know, this is for TV film, not theater. Like, I personally, this is my personal opinion, have found that to be some big bull. Like, this bullshit. Like, to me, like, I find when people say, like, you know, there are two separate mediums, yes, they are. Yes, you got to learn to, like, not project, because you're not in an audience, you know, of 1,000 people or 500 people, but like the same skills are applied whether you're on stage or in front of a camera. You have to know what is happening in the scene. You have to know who you're speaking to. You have to know what happened before you stepped on that scene, or like the moment before. You have to do all your homework. So when people say tone it back, I'm like, so what did they tell Jim Carrey or like Robin Williams?
Right.
Or like
Right.
Or like Daniel Day-Lewis. No one ever tells them to tone it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, like there's this, you know what? You hear this a lot from people who've never done film. You know what I mean? Like they're always saying, like, you know what, TV, you know, film and TV is totally different than stage. I was like, so how much of that have you actually done?
Right.
Because
how have you proven that?
It's really like it is. I've done both, and they are, yes, they're different just in just the location and how many people are in front of you and like the proximity of the people in front of you, but you still got to do the same work, you know. And if you are too loud in a TV or film audition, you know what the casting director is going to say 9 times out of 10? Hey, do it again, but just like a little quieter. You know what I mean? Like you're that's all they're going to do.
I felt that agent to be an asshole. I was like, fuck you. I know, like,
exactly.
Give me actual feedback about my resume, my headshot, rather than being like talking to me like I was this, I don't know, new person in the industry that did not know the difference between.
Exactly. They're the gatekeepers though, and that's what sucks. I hate that whole stigma that you have to have this you know, these gatekeepers to get you in. Like you have to have an agent to get work, but you have to have work to get an agent. And
absolutely.
Everyone's always asking.
I've yet to get an agent, man, and I think I've actually built quite a
resume,
good starting resume.
Yes.
I've gone managers. I've gotten lucky with managers. One through you, and then I just fired my last one.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do that.
It was my first time breaking up with someone.
Yeah.
And I did not know how to do it, and now I'm going to be working with a new one, which I'm very excited about.
The breakups are hard.
Breakups are, I mean, you had to do it with Eric as well. Yeah. So, and you had been working with him for a while. So that must have been even harder.
It was very hard. It was very difficult. It's just, you know, and you know, what made it worse was that he did pass away like months after.
I know.
It just, it broke my, I remember crying when I heard it. When you sent me that text, I broke down crying, like, you know, cause he's just like, he was like family. And we still, like, even after we broke up, like, we sent each other Christmas presents and everything. He sent Anapao some socks and a book. And you know, she wasn't even born yet.
That was right. That's when he had already been diagnosed.
Yeah.
Because I think he got diagnosed in November, and then oh, that's so sweet of him.
Yeah. And so it was very, very hard to do, but it was just like, professionally, it was the right choice. I think if I had to go back, I would have done a little bit more. I would have been more patient in getting agents. I think, you know, it shoulda, coulda, woulda back. Like, you know, like I thought that I was getting a good deal, and then they ended up being something that wasn't. And then everything fell apart. But then now I'm with some great people, and I've got great reps and no industry to do anything with. You know,
it's gonna come back, dude. Like, I know people are like worried, but
you'll be fine.
Me?
Yes, I think you'll be fine.
I hope so.
No, you're on a hit TV show right now on HBO Max. Which one is that? It's Search Party?
It's Search Party. I have a few lines, but the coverage is very minimal, right? Like, you can hear me. I'm a reporter, so it's
you're there, though.
Me. I am, and I actually love the experience. I got to meet and kind of mingle with the writer. So we're like Instagram friends. So it was like a great experience. Yeah. But this was 2 years ago too, and it just came out.
Well, the same thing with Bad Education for me. I shot my scenes for Emmy award nominee Bad Education. We have been nominated for some Emmys. I don't want to attribute that just to my performance, but
right.
If you,
but it's a huge.
It's a game. I mean, the movie really, really changes pace right when my scene picks up, and
Right.
it just changes the whole tone of the film, I think.
You like propelled it.
Exactly. You get the handsome Mexican boy working the construction store job, and Hugh Jackman, Hugh who, right? Like they forgot about
Yeah.
Hugh
Yeah.
till
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
scene where he pops up.
Who?
Yeah, that was who exactly? Who Jackman? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
Chapa, and I'm kind of upset that I got snubbed. But you know what? I'm a team player, and I'm happy that I could elevate everyone
Yeah. It's
else's
about
performances.
the project. It's not about you. Also,
Exactly.
like
It's
you
all
have
about the
so
arc.
many awards. So at this point, like,
I'm a
what's
dad. That's all I
whatever.
need. I'm a dad
Yeah.
to the
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful girl. I'm a girl dad, and I have a beautiful wife. So really, I'm doing great.
You're winning.
I'm winning, but I would love to work again because that was 2 years ago for me. And guess what? You actually kept your scene on Search Party. I was on season 2 and got mine edited out. Season 2 or 3, I got edited out.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I never tell people I book stuff
Don't.
until it's about to air, and then I always put a disclaimer, and I'm like, I may or may not be in this,
Oh, yeah.
because I you never know. Though I will say, I feel co-stars don't get cut as often because the co-star is
5
literally
times.
just like, really?
5
It's
times.
never happened
Yep.
for me, but usually I'm like, why would they cut this bit out? Like, it's just literally filler, and they need filler for this 20 minute episode. So
Yeah.
I would be so fucking sad
Oh, man. But here's the
because
deal.
those are hard to come by too.
They're hard to come by, especially when it's a show that's non-existent anymore. I got cut out of my very first one. I got cut out of was Mr. Robot, and I think that's because Rami Malek got a little I don't know if you got intimidated acting across from me, so he
Sure.
didn't feel the scene was just the strongest, because I kind of I was having to coach him a little bit, how it goes.
Yeah.
And so I got edited out of that. It was like 3 lines.
Is that the reason why he won the Oscar after?
Exactly.
Because of your coaching?
Exactly. Well, it was the hug that he gave me afterward. It was the very last scene of that first season, and he hugged me. They wrapped him, and when we hugged, I kind of like. Did you ever watch The Green Mile, where John Coffey would take out all their illness with all those bugs? Nope. He would suck it out. Well, I just blew talent into him.
Talent.
I went
Got it.
Like that. Talent into Rami Malek's ear, and it probably would have been COVID now.
You really see the shift from that episode to the next one. It's
from that to his Academy Award. Like there was no Bohemian Rhapsody if there wasn't
without
Robot. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Because he had done a big movie before that. Remember, he did Night at the Museum. Nothing after that.
Oh.
And he worked exactly. And then he worked with me. Yes, I'm just saying. But I got cut out of that. I also got cut out of Blacklist, but I was lucky enough to come back for a bigger part. Not much.
Oh, that's great. That's better though.
Yeah, I got killed at the very where the credits were running. I got killed in the very beginning. You can see the title, like the name. And then the worst is honestly, like when people ask, like, "Is that it?"
Dude, my dad asks me that all the time for like 2 or 3 lines, and I'm like, "What do you mean? That's so much for me right now." I mean, I would love to be a bigger part, but it's not that easy, Dad.
No, I know.
No, that's my biggest fear sometimes, getting co-stars for shows that I really like and see myself in, because I'm just like, fuck, like I know there's a guest star for me somewhere in there, and if I go in this and do this now, I will never be in the show.
That's the gamble that I took with Blue Bloods, is that I was up for a guest star a couple of times, and they were really like on my side. Like when if you're listening, like I've always said that if you get on the good side of a casting office, they will take care of you. They will remember you. You may not book the things you go in for, but they will always remember you, and they will find something for you. And this casting office was like saying, like, we're gonna get you on an episode. And I think I just got kind of anxious, and I went in. I was up for a guest star like 2 or 3 times, and I had the callback over there in Brooklyn, that little office. And I just said, you know what? I got impatient, and I went in for a co-star, and I think I should have waited another couple of weeks because there was something much better. Like 3 weeks later, I think it's just patience, and I think it's
Yeah.
just fear that you're never going to get a guest star. You know what I mean? Or it's
Yeah.
just like you better work
Oh,
now because you might not work again.
I'm terrified of
Yeah.
I'm terrified of two things right now. I'm terrified of never working again,
Same.
right?
Same.
I'm also terrified, and this is such a stupid thing to be scared about, of becoming that actor that has a million co-stars in their IMDb that
Yeah.
nobody knows.
That's Jorge
You know,
Chapa.
like there. No, you have guest stars, my friend, and
Yeah, I
you
do.
have
A
movies.
recurring.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
I have co-stars, and like Search Party was the only thing that became recurring. I auditioned for it. It was just a
Yeah.
co-star, and
Yeah.
then they were like, "Oh, we need reporters for this. Let's just
That's so
call her
beautiful.
again."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was so excited about
It's
that,
so
and
amazing.
it was kind of like Orange is the New Black happened, and then Search Party happened, and then they
Yeah.
called me to become a recurring. So that was like a sweet, you know, uh, a sweet little 2-3 months, and like Eric was
Oh,
loving
yeah.
me because it was like, my first year with him was like book, 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 book.
Yeah.
But it's just co-stars, and
That guy
beggars can't be
really
choosers.
hustled.
But oh yeah, I
Jeez.
miss him so much.
Jeez, yeah.
I never minded. I never minded. Is that a word? Yeah. I
Yeah.
never like cared
Yeah.
giving him money. Like when his time to pay him came, I was like,
Yeah.
take it. Take my 15%. You worked for me. Like, whereas, other representation that I've had in the past, I would be like, why am I paying you? Like,
Yeah.
I got this for myself.
Yeah.
I've worked my ass off the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And like, I hated that feeling because I love feeling the
Well,
support of a manager.
yes.
And that's the one thing Eric had.
I paid him even after we broke up. And we separated our business, and we continued to pay him. We got him Christmas present. We broke up in
Yep.
November of 2018.
Yep.
And I still continue to pay him until the day he died.
Yep.
It's so crazy that happens so fast. And it's like it just, if anyone could ever be that lucky to have someone that works that hard for you, like tirelessly, and you don't realize what you have until after they're gone, and you don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Because I thought that I really did not need Eric, and I really felt that I wish he got a little bit more respect from bigger agents, because I think a lot of times I think he would have outworked those bigger agents if he had a different if he had a little bit more tact. You know what I mean? Because he was very aggressive.
Yeah.
I think he could have been a freaking headhunter. He could have had several A-list actors just through his work ethic.
I met him early January.
Yeah.
I want to say January 14th. That night, I got an email from Jonathan Strauss Casting.
Boom.
Because of him.
Yeah.
Like the man literally only knew my headshot and my resume. He had met me earlier that day.
Yeah.
And he got me an audition.
Yeah.
For Law and Order, and I was just like, wait, what? It took this is what it takes to get auditions.
Yeah, I remember. And, I met with him on a Friday, and I had 2 auditions on a Tuesday, and an audition on a Thursday, and I booked 1 out of those 3. And one of those, I booked, the first one was that AT&T commercial I booked through Telsey. And then the very first audition was through Meredith Tucker's office, who was where I booked Divorce out of. That's where my career, like my appearances on Divorce came out of. So the relationship started building from there, in those very first auditions. And like, I remember, I don't know if it was the same way with you, like when you met with him, that he, talked a huge game. Like, I know this casting office, this other casting office, and this other casting office, and I've gotten my clients on this. Like, he's very braggadocious, and it's kind of like, we're from the valley. It's like, this guy's puro pelo, like he's full of shit. But the dude backed it up. And one of the things that I always remember is the saying, there's like, he may be an asshole, but he was our asshole. Like, he fought tooth and nail. And it's just, the industry is missing out on a good one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel if he would be here right now,
He'd be going nuts right now.
Oh yeah, but I feel he would still be fucking getting people work.
Yeah,
like auditions.
Or even just like meetings or like those self-tape auditions for casting offices. He'd be doing something. Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't, my last manager, the pandemic hit in March, and that Friday he would send an email and be like, "Oh, we're in hiatus." Like the management company is in hiatus. And I was like, "Wait, what?" Like,
yeah. It's so crazy. And
that to me just didn't make sense.
Yeah, well, because how have you been handling the hiatus? And at some point, I know for all of us, at any given time between March 15th and now, at any given time, there was I can speak for myself. There was genuine panic that I don't know if I'll ever work again, and or what the hell. Like, I had built up all this momentum, and then it just like got washed away. Like, how's that affected you? Did that ever happen?
I mean, no, I freaked out the moment the show got canceled.
Yeah.
I swore to never do one-on-one casting sessions ever.
Good for you.
And then immediately the pandemic happened, April hit, and I was like, well, I need to feel like I'm doing something. So I paid for 3 things right off the bat, which is quite a lot of money. It's like, it was like a 2-week session with one casting, and then another 2-week session with another casting, but it was like for theater here in New York. Mm-hmm. And then I did like an agent panel night.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to feel like I was doing something for myself and taking ownership of it. And then that's when all of these casting offices started posting like, send us a 2-minute scene with this super long slate and blah, 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 blah. So Ben and I started doing a little bit of those. So I did maybe like a handful of those. And then around that time, I was watching a lot of TV. So then I was just taking notes of scenes. I was like, oh, this would be a good scene to like self-tape to send out to somebody, or like this and that. And oh, what is this actor doing? And who was casting this, and blah, blah, blah. So that's how I handled it at the beginning. But then it also felt like wasted energy to some extent, because there was really nothing happening. Like there's really, I mean, and I get a little bit of anxiety. I don't know if you do too, when you see people that, working actors on Instagram that are your friends,
when
that
they're
are putting
worried.
like, that they're getting self-tapes, and you're just like, what's casting? My commercial agency has not been calling me that much. My voice agents are, the voice world is requiring for you to have a specific program in your computer that costs like $30 a month, or like
Concado told me about that,
or Source Connect, it's called.
He was telling me about that.
Just like, I mean, but Concado has made a lot of money off of voiceover.
He's the man. Like, he's a sweetheart.
My voiceover agency, which is the same one, I'm assuming he's with CSC as well. They like me. I can tell they really like me. I just haven't really booked anything, and they sent out a mass email to all of their clients. They're like, we want to work with you guys. It's just right now, it's not about whether you're willing to get the program or not. Like, you have to have the program for auditions, because most of these agencies don't want to see people that don't have it. And I'm like, right now, I just don't have the money. Like, if I was generally making a lot of commercials, voiceover commercials, or just on camera voiceover, I would invest in it. But I've only booked one radio spot, which was maybe a $300 session fee, and then $96 in residuals. Like it just doesn't, and that was like 3 years ago. So to me, it just doesn't make sense to invest $30 a month, or like
$30 a month.
A month.
That's just, it blows my mind that you as actors, and we as actors, because I'll go back to what I'm going to say in a bit about voiceover and commercial for me, but like the fact that you all have to like invest in that software is ridiculous. You got to pay to play. So what happens for the people that need that $30 for their meals for the week, or they need that for laundry, because laundry isn't cheap. Like, if you do laundry every 2 weeks, about $17-18, depending on how much per week. And it's just the fact
that we spend about 20 every 2 weeks. So
it's so nuts, and that's just like, it really sucks. And then on top of all of that, you have to have the program. Now you have to have the equipment. Luckily, Ben has the equipment. Like Ben, you can go to.
Right.
We're fortunate in the fact that we have friends that know this sort of stuff. But what if you're like the guy who's just getting to the city, the guy or the girl who's like perfect for voiceovers? You can't afford a microphone, even if it's $100 microphone. And even if you have a laptop, like my laptop is 8 years old, and I'm surprised that it's even recording right now what we're recording. At any given time, it can crash. What if this is your lifeline, and then all of a sudden you have to pay this $30 a month? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not doing commercial or voiceovers anymore. I'm too far away from anything. And like, I was with I had my agents in New York for commercial and voiceover, and we talk still. Like, I'm very, very close with them. And I just could. I mean, there's no point in me staying with them. They said if I'm ever back in the city, I can continue, but I needed to be in the city. And then my agents now is like, they'll send me on commercials, but it's driving to Austin for like a 30-second audition and then driving back. It's 5 hours up and 5 hours down. So it's just, they said they'll send me to things. So I'm really like feeling like, I don't know when I'm going to work again. When
should I, Chapa?
Yeah.
As a New York actor, get representation in Texas? Do they represent people in different regions?
Okay. So it's a very, very slippery slope. I have a few friends that manage to do this, but you have to be willing to pay your own way to fly to certain locations, because you can, and you can put down your address to, like, say if you're in Brownsville, like you have your family's address in Brownsville, or if you have friends in Austin that you can use. And it also sucks during tax season. But I do have a friend who has agents in Atlanta and agents in LA and agents in New York, all separate. And they tend to, like, you just have to be willing to do and pay for your hotel and travel. Like, there's a way that you can put down your address within the 500, like the regional, and you can get some kind of money back from that, like there's a stipend, but it's not impossible. But they might want to see you in person for like the first couple of auditions. Like for me, I had to drive up to Austin before I could just solely self-tape, because they wanted to see that I wasn't like full of shit when I was in front of a camera. Like I wasn't one of those good tapers. Like there's people that just perfect auditioning, but then when they actually work or they're given directions, they freeze and they can't act.
I get that, but that's weird to me, knowing your resume, that you've already done this a million times in New York. So that's a little whack for me to hear.
Yeah, it's with one casting director, and I get it. And
oh no, you're back. Oh no, your audio's coming in and out. Oh, I can't hear you. Hold on. Maybe my headphones died. Give me a second.
Right.
Hold on.
You can hear me?
I can hear you. These motherfuckers.
Okay. Yeah. I don't get what happened here. I'm sorry about that. Folks, if you're listening, this is just another one of those things that we deal with. But, it's just one of those things that I would rather be in person sometimes, just to show my personality and show that I can take direction. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because sometimes that does win people over, and it's harder to establish yourself in a new region when they've never met you in person. So that's one of the things. I find it very hard to just do a bunch of self-tapes and then people don't know who I am, or they've never seen my work or met me in person, and then they're just judging just like a couple of minutes of clip. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult. And I don't know.
Too, in general, because it something that should take 30 seconds ends up taking like 4 hours to put together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I don't know what the future will hold. What do you think the future will hold? And then we'll wrap it up, because
for actors in general,
for yourself, what are you predicting in the next few months, or what are you hoping for?
I'm hoping I can book something this year. just one thing at least. But
Yeah.
I want to put it out, not just one thing. I'm hoping to, once things resume, which I think we'll get there in like September, October, and I think some production companies will at least start because they gotta get something out there.
Yeah.
I'm hoping with this new management that I get seen.
Yeah.
I also hope to have a few general meetings with a few casting directors via Zoom. Is what I spoke to my current manager about, and she's the one that was like, oh, I need these people to see you because of, X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
And also, I'm hoping that the commercial I had a callback for today, I book it.
Crush it. Yeah, absolutely. I hope you get it too.
I would love to make that residual money.
Is it national?
It didn't specify, and I think because the casting agency is a little bit new, and usually you're able to tell breakdowns from new casting agencies to like heavy hitters, because it's very generic, and you're just like, what kind of contract is it? And then they sent me like all of the like standard SAG contracts and what they meant, and I'm like, I know this, but where, like, you say it's new media, but then it could also be like national and this and this and this. and this.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, the session fee is paying as a new media session fee, but it says there's a possibility of
well, hopefully it can roll out, because that does happen from time to time. Like it can roll out to something big, and then it ends up even rolling on new media for years and years. Speaking of commercials, the Jake from State Farm commercial?
Yeah.
It's like one of the most famous commercials of all time. It's actually rolling on YouTube ads now. They're still getting paid for this commercial. I remember I was auditioning against a guy who was on the phone talking to Jake from State Farm, and he was just like, we were all, it's so stupid. We were fanboying over this guy who's like been living off of this commercial. At that time, this was about maybe 4 years ago. He had already been living off of it for 8 years.
Oh man.
So good for them.
Well, and also the contracts were different back then.
And they're probably getting a lot more money.
Making a lot more money than what you would make booking that now.
Yeah.
Because that's what sucks about like the new media contracts, where you're just like, wait, I have to join SAG now because I booked this, but this is only paying me $400 to $500 for this session fee. Like,
yes,
I'm losing money by booking this because now I have to join the union.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the whole SAG thing, and we can get into that in another conversation. It's just people, they bullied people into voting yes without really giving us more options.
Well, I got like 5 or 6 postcards being like, vote yes, vote. And honestly, look, if I hadn't found specific videos made by actors talking about different things,
giving like situation scenarios, you like, sent it to me.
Like, yeah, sure, I'll do yes. It sounds like they're doing the best for us.
Yeah.
Which, listen, I'm sure whatever was passed, I can't even speak about this.
I'm not even working, so it's not going to affect me.
Right. Well, I mean,
you have to make money for it to be effective.
This whole situation, I was like, oh, my dues, I'll pay them eventually. I'll pay them before SAG screeners go out so that I can get whatever goes out, because I don't even know if I do anything good this year. I think award season next year is going to be very like meh. But
there is. I don't even know who's going to be running for Oscars or anything like that. We don't know yet. It's going to be so weird. But you know what? It's been a great conversation. I'm going to have you back. We're going to talk again. Hopefully, when we talk again, you will already be famous and flying.
I would have already booked this commercial. Kind of like.
Yes, and it'll be running as an ad through my YouTube channel.
I hope so. I hope we have a conversation and then it breaks into that commercial, and then
exactly as you're talking about the commercial, it's going to break into that commercial.
Yeah,
it's going to do that, or it's probably going to play at the beginning and you can just skip after 5 seconds.
Right. But listen, those 5 seconds,
there.
I'm okay with it. You get paid what? How many cents for that?
You get paid something. It's better than nothing.
Before we leave, how often are you checking your residual portal during?
Oh my gosh, like 3 times a day. At least 3 times a day. I'm not only checking it, Rosa's checking it. and
it's not changing for me.
It's not changing at all. And has yours been taking forever to process, like longer than usual?
the large checks, which I've only gotten one large check. I saw in my portal that I was getting it, and I was like, oh, cool. That one processed very quickly. And then those like fucking $5 residuals, I think they wait until you have a bunch.
Yeah.
And or those take like 6 weeks to process, because I have 2 small checks that are pending, and I it's been the last month and a half that I'm like, wait, that other I'm just gonna say $1,200 rerun residual.
Yeah.
Like I saw it and I got paid within a week, and then these other like $40, $20 ones, I'm just like, why hasn't this hit my account yet? It's been here for an entire month and a half.
Oh man, well
refresh.
SAG through the direct deposit times.
Yes.
When I joined, they were still sending checks.
Oh yeah, no, I just joined direct deposit maybe less than a year.
Man, and that sucked too. Well, I get like, I check my portal, and then I see a whole bunch from HBO, and it's like $1, $2, like $3, and then it's all like the divorce ones and Succession. It's just like $3-4. So when family members think I'm rich, I show them, this is what I'm making here. I'm making $4 off of these HBO shows.
Well, and also let's also talk about real quick the things that you book.
Yeah.
Very few. It's streaming platform. So
you're not getting paid anything.
Take like a year and a half to start hitting your account. First of all,
I did one.
Search Party was supposed to be PBS. Yeah. And now it's HBO Max, and I'm like, damn it! I would have been making more money if it was on TBS.
You would have, because that was a network. Now it's new media. And then I did a show called The Characters, and it was on Netflix, and I have seen 0 residuals from that.
Really?
0. That was my very first new media contract, and that was when new media contracts were still very new. Remember, this was at the infancy of the Netflix shows, because I think the Netflix buzz came out like 2013, 2014. This was 2015, so it was very new, and I think they've redone the contract since then. I have gotten some residuals from other Hulu and Netflix shows, but that one, 0. I didn't make anything. I kind of paid them to get out there.
I got one residual for The Good Cup, which I did early 2018, and I got it this year.
Good Lord.
I got couple $100 off of that, and I've yet to see anything for Orange Is the New Black, which I was hoping would get me some good money, but
you'll see. We'll see. Well, it was great talking to you as always.
Talking to you, Chapa.
Where can we find you on social media? Do you do Twitter, Instagrams?
Instagrams. Let me find my handle real quick, because I don't know it.
You should know this, Jacquie.
I know, but I spell it weird on Instagram. So it's Jacquie, Jacquie, period, Guillen, Guillen.
And I'll probably link it down below, along with your website, which you're going to send to me.
Yes, I will send you the website to those listening. If you don't want to wait for whatever Chapa, actually, you're going to see this at the same time that you're to this, but it's Jacqueline-Guillen.com.
Boom. And you can find me at Jorge Chapa 11. That's JorgeChapa 11. That's on Instagram. I don't waste my time on Facebook. And on YouTube, you can find me at Jorge Chapa. You'll see my pretty face there and the skyline of New York City as my background. Thank you again, everybody. Jacquie, as always, thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Absolutely. Bye.